High Ground Podcast, DVW.
And Callum?
Okay, we're doing another one of these ones remembering again. This time
Yeah,
it's
we
Sean
seem to be
Connery.
doing a lot of these, don't we, at the moment?
Yeah, kind of. Seriously, we're both big James Bond fans. If you check down, it is November, which is the traditional time for the release of the Bond movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Coming home from the paid job on Saturday just to find out what the movie premiere was on Sky, and it's like, the boss said,
Titan's fallen.
Yeah.
I know it's. I found out on break, and at my work, same work, but my friend had just said like, "Oh, guess who's died?" I hate when people do that because you think like, "Well, who?" Like, and I immediately just didn't know, and then when they said Sean Connery, I thought, "Wow!" Like, I always expect someone that you kind of go, not in a mean way, but you kind of go, "All right, that's a shame." But like, this is a big one because it's, he's not just James Bond. It's like Indiana Jones' dad and like Marnie and all these great. He's done so many great roles. Not just James Bond. He's probably the only one that wasn't really that typecast.
Yeah,
I would say.
I mean, I was, I watched, because my Bond was Roger Moore was growing up, so I watched. First film I really remember Sean Connery watching was Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And to me, he is so quotable. I mean, he's James Bond. I mean, but it's like you should have mailed it to the Moth Brothers.
Yeah.
It tells me good stepping more like yourself should try reading books instead of buying.
We named the dog Indiana.
Very fond memories of that dog.
Yeah, I agree. And another one that you mentioned as well that you watched in tribute was Highlander.
The Spanish Peacock.
Yeah, I just, any role he's in, it sort of livens the film. I mean, a film I watched as well, not long ago actually, was The Rock with Nicolas Cage, and like as soon as Sean Connery comes into it, it's a Sean Connery film. Like it's just, he steals like the limelight from everyone. Even something as, which was pretty shit as League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like he's still sort of, he's Sean Connery. Like you can't, you're still watching it because he's talking and fighting and coming up with these one-liners, and he's his usual miserable self, and that's what you want from Sean Connery, isn't it? And he was James Bond, but he's all these other people as well, and it doesn't even matter that he's playing a Russian submarine commander with a Scottish accent. He still reels you in because he's such a good actor.
But he plays everything with a Scottish accent.
Yeah, so
he is.
It's like Liam Neeson, isn't it? With his very thick Northern Irish accent.
But you wouldn't change him.
Because they can act. Yeah. They're not just mouthpieces. Yeah. Like they do the lines, but you sort of don't listen to the lines after a while. You're looking at the movements and
you're engrossed in the performance.
Yes. Even stuff that was kind of kooky, like a film like Zardoz. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, it's what I've been trying to get hold of.
Sean Connery with a leotard, a unitard on. I mean, or a mankini or whatever they're called. But he even livens the proceedings up in things like that.
Yeah.
And he's great at comedy as well. I mean, Indy's dad, isn't he? I mean, how funny! Every time you watch it, it's funny.
Him and Denham Elliott together.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they? And even just him and Harrison.
Yeah.
That they might not be that many years apart, but you do believe that they're father and son in that film.
That bit, the bit on when they're in the Zeppelin, where about the discussion how old they were when they both last time they were drinking together.
Yeah.
And it's
quite sad at that moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you realise they're not as close as they thought they were.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just even things like Robin and Marion. Yeah. He's really good at the comedy in that. I mean, it's sad. It's sad. That's one of the big ones. That's the two Bonds we've lost now, isn't it?
We were only watching You Only Live Twice the other week.
That's right.
It's.
Because I mean, you're always saying like you even though you Connery is Bond. Yeah. He wasn't like your go-to Bond.
No.
Was it? No.
No, he's. He is the definitive. Him and now Daniel Craig are defining Bonds. You've got Pierce Brosnan. They try to get back to the Connery Bond.
Yeah.
So, it's like I mean, I maintain that I mean, other than of course Unmatched Secret Service, which I'm a huge fan of, you've got From Russia with Love. Is,
Yeah.
To me, everyone go Goldfinger is the definitive. Goldfinger and Skyfall are the definitive Bonds. If you want the one that everybody would say is the go-to Bond, it is Goldfinger. Even though my personal one out of the Connery ones is From Russia with Love.
Yeah, I mean, I always think if Bond was a subgenre, and it kind of is.
Yeah.
Goldfinger is where that subgenre began.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, From Russia with Love is really the one. Like, it is unfairly sort of dismissed as not dismissed, but everyone goes to Goldfinger first.
Yeah.
Whereas like you have all the hallmarks of that in From Russia with Love,
Yeah.
like the first gadget, the first, the Bond girls there again, the like the big spectacle action set pieces. That Doctor No was maybe a bit more low key because it was the first one. The budget wasn't huge, but From Russia with Love, I mean, you got the Red Grant fight, just one of the best fights in the series.
Robert Shaw, may he rest in peace as well.
Shaw, yeah, and the Orient Express is like this big thing, like, and then the set pieces in Istanbul and stuff like that, and Goldfinger sort of steals the limelight. I mean, it is my favourite as well, but I do admit it steals the limelight quite unfairly a lot of the time, because it has the Aston Martin and it's got the first sort of megalomaniacal villain, with the traits and that established, and but you can't imagine that without Connery.
No.
I think every other Bond sort of filters some version of Connery through them unconsciously, maybe.
Well, you can't say it's like Roger Moore didn't order vodka martinis because he didn't want to be doing an impersonation of Sean. And when you watch Doctor No, and the woman that plays Sylvia Trench, she goes Trench, Sylvia Trench, and he just responds as Bond, James Bond. No, you can understand why that's sometimes dismissed in Bond because it's Connery's way of saying it. I think Roger Moore said once that only you do go into the Bond, James Bond, with the whole Connery. Yeah, it can't be helped because that's the one everyone knows.
The one that's I mean he apparently Roger Moore for the first few days was trying to do impressions of Sean Connery because he was like he thought that's what he was scared that's what they wanted, and they were just kind of like, what are you doing, Roger? And it's like, well, I'm doing what Connery does, and no, just do your own thing, And I think that's why he like sort of smokes cigars instead of cigarettes, and he has bourbons, instead of shaken. I mean, he does order them a couple of times, doesn't he? But there is. I mean, it's simple. There's no Bond without Connery.
No.
Whether you like it or not.
And Doctor No is the film that actually set off the action films where they do the quips. So everything, especially in the 80s, where you take out the bad guy and you smart ass remark.
Yeah.
It all goes back down to Doctor No, and so not just as what his impact was on action cinema alone.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in quite a good few action films apart from Bond, hasn't he? Really, I mean, that must have filtered into a lot of his casting decisions. We've got James Bond here. Not in a sort of typecast way, but wasn't it Spielberg that even said, "Well, I made the last icon of action, the father of the new icon." And he always wanted to direct a James Bond film, didn't he? So he kind of did in the end.
It is natural that James Bond would be Indiana Jones's dad.
Yeah. Who else could you? Yeah.
Or to use another, James Bond is Han Solo's dad. If you're going to go down.
Even better, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's funny as well. Like, I mean, because Sean Connery gets a lot of rap for how he was in real life.
Yeah.
Because he was quite cold and dismissive, wasn't he? I mean, if you've seen interviews with him, like, I think there's one, isn't there, with a reporter where they ask him, like, someone says something like, "Oh, it's nice to have you back, Sean," and he says something like, "Well, what do you mean? Was I even away?" Like, and you think, dickhead, but you like, it was, I don't know, you have to try and separate the real life from the actor, don't you, sometimes, or you will just think, I don't like that person.
There are enough assholes out there.
There are,
and that make great film performances. Look at Marlon Brando.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But doesn't detract from his work.
Yeah.
And he stuck to he stuck to his opinion, even if it was out of even if it was non-PC standards.
Shall we say? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of these paths that I don't really want to go down on the podcast because
No,
there's
I
too many
mean,
people that are, yeah.
I do separate
Yeah.
his real life from his acting because I do love Sean Connery. I've always
Yeah.
loved him. Like I mean, a lot of the films I was introduced to a lot of films with my nan, and obviously like she was proud because he was a fellow Scot, and she'd be like, "Oh, is this the one with Sean in it?" Or like, you know, it was like first name basis.
Yeah.
You met him, Nan. No, yeah, but I mean, he's always been a part of my childhood. Indiana Jones, James Bond, you know, Highlander, just all these. I mean, what role can you pick that he isn't iconic in? It's just
Exactly.
he even uplifts films that aren't great that he's in.
I think so. Yeah, we watched him. One of the first films we actually watched this year because it was Marnie. I hadn't seen that
Yes.
since I was at university. It's like
Quite
you forget
shocking,
how
isn't
good
it?
it is. Yeah, it's. I did a bit of a Hitchcock thing, and Hitchcock is brilliant. To actually, even if it wasn't in James Bond, he's forever going to be in an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's worked with some of the greats, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Sidney Lumet, Alfred Hitchcock. You know, all the good Bond directors we've had that aren't particularly famous, but they are in the circle of Bond fans. You know.
Yeah. Can this year just not
Yeah.
take anyone else we like away from us because it's really not good.
Definitely not another Bond.
No, we don't want any more. We only had Diana Rigg a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
as
that's right.
recorded,
Yeah.
I should say. Rest in peace,
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah. We will be missed.
Oh, yeah.